Today I'm going to explain how a diesel generator works. So I'm going to explain step by step, and I'll be showing you each and every part here on a diesel. This is an AC diesel motor. So it is three phase. It is a three-phase generator with a rated power of 24 kilowatts. So let me first show you the control panel. So this is our control panel, and if you press here, you'll be starting your diesel generator manually. So if you press this one to be on automatic mode, and for this is for stop button for those who are doing maintenance. So it shows it is on what, on the grid. So you can, it is on tower, because I'm on telecom site. So this one you can put it off the tower. So this is for alarm. So when you press your start button, let me explain to you what happens physically, showing you each and every part on a diesel generator. So let me first go to the starter side of the generator. When we press your start button, so on the starter side we have the battery. That battery is for 12 volts DC. So, and we have here the starter motor and also the starter motor relay. So when you press your start button from the control panel, it sends a message to the starter relay. So, and it picks power from the battery to the starter motor. So for that, this starter motor helps the generator to start, help the engine to start. So let me move to the other side. After pressing, when the starter motor starts, so when the starter motor starts, this side, this thing which you see, this one is our tank. So let me first explain. When the starter motor starts, after starting, it sends message to the generator. So fuel is pumped from the tanker. As you are seeing, this is our tanker. Fuel is pumped through the fuel pump injector, and this is our fuel pump injector. So it is pumped through the fuel pumps. Let me first show you again the fuel pumps. I think I didn't explain it well. After pressing the start button, the starter starts, and it allows the fuel pump to pump fuel from the fuel tank. So this is our fuel pump, as you see it. And when it pumps fuel, it goes direct to the filter. It goes direct to the fuel filter to remove the dust from that fuel, and then it moves to the fuel pump injector. So this is the injector, and these are the nozzles which takes fuel to our engine. This side is our engine. So there, ignition happens, or combustion happens in the engine, but combustion happens in the engine when fuel is there with also air. So air comes from, this is our air filter manifold. So inside there we have air filter where air passes from and goes direct, as you are seeing, goes direct to the engine. So when this fuel from the pump injector enters the engine with also this air from after being filtered from the air filter, there we have what we call combustion. So that combustion makes the piston to move. So when this piston starts moving, here we have the shaft. This is our alternator. So we have the shaft. This piston make these shafts to start rotating. So when they start rotating, here inside we have a flywheel. So that flywheel keeps it rotating. So this flywheel is the shafts of the engine. They are connected to the shafts of the alternator, and as you are seeing, this is our alternator. So when this alternator, inside it has a starter and a rotor. So when the engine starts rotating, the rotor of the alternator starts also to move. So this rotor makes electromagnetic forces, and the starter generates power through what we call electromagnetic induction. And this alternator, it is connected to what we call the AVR. AVR is voltage, it is automatic voltage regulator, this one. So the thing is closed. I wanted to show you the AVR. So this AVR is the one which displays the what? It is the one which regulates the AC power which is being generated from the alternator. So after that, that means our AC power is being made through the alternator and is being controlled through what we call the AVR. So here on our diesel engine, after our engine making what power, it becomes hot, and when it becomes hot, here this is what we call the cooling system. In the cooling system we have fan, and also we have the radiator. It is there inside, and where the where the coolant is being placed. So this is where coolant is being placed and water. So this coolant goes direct to radiator. So when this fan brings in air, the coolant absorbs the heat, then the radiator releases that heat to the air. So this is what we call the exhaustion pipe. It takes away what that gases from the engine. As we are seeing, it is being connected to the engine. It takes away those gases. And even in generator there, when it is like moving, those pistons, they make some friction, and when they make some friction, we have to reduce the friction, whereby adding here our oil. As we are seeing, we add in our oil, and that our oil passes through our oil filter. So this is what we call oil pressure sensor. So this oil pressure sensor regulates, tell us whether the pressure is low or high, but we need the pressure to be high for oil to go direct to the engine, so that we can reduce the friction. So let me show you other parts which we have on what. So this one, it is called the fuel solenoid, and this is the switch for it. So this fuel solenoid, I didn't tell you what it does. This fuel solenoid, it is the one which like it also acts as a switch to this fuel pump injector. It stops it, and also it closes it, and also it opens it. So let me show you another sensor which we have here on our diesel AC generator. We have what we call temperature sensor. So this thing, are you seeing that thing? I don't know if I'm touching the meat. This cow, that one is what we call the temperature sensor. It is also sends the message to our control panel that the generator, it is very, very hot, and immediately it shuts down. So this thing which we were seeing, it is what we call the silencer. It reduces noise from the generator. This thing makes a lot of noise as it is working. And another thing I didn't show you, let me see. Yes, I have found it. I didn't show you what we call DC. So here we have what we call DC. This thing, DC alternator. This DC alternator helps us to charge our battery. So that is how our generator works. Remember, I told you when you press when you press the start button, it goes direct to, it sends a message to what I showed you that side. That is our starter motor, but it has a relay. Send the message direct to our relay. When it sends the message to our relay, the starter motor relay tells the starter motor to start, and it takes power from our battery. So when it takes power from our battery, the battery sends a message to our fuel pump. And I also showed you the fuel pump. Our fuel pump is here. That is our fuel pump. Send message to our fuel pump. When send message to our fuel pump speaks fuel. They are down from what? Picks fuel from our tank. When it picks fuel from our tanks, fuel comes and pass to our fuel filter and they remove some dust, and then it comes direct to the fuel injector. When it comes to the fuel injector, remember it has what we call fuel solenoid. It is the one which closes and opens it so that this fuel goes direct to our engine. So this is our engine. So when this our engine gets fuel, it also need to get air to make some combustion, and that air, I told you, the air passes through the air filter which is inside the air manifold. So when air passes through and finds itself, mixes itself with the fuel, and there will be some movement through the piston, and these pistons are connected to shaft, and the shaft is connected to the flywheel wheel. It is here, which makes the alternator to move. You remember the alternator also told you to have the rotor and the starter. So the rotor starts moving, and the rotor makes energy through electromagnetic induction with the starter. So the AC is produced. And even I told you that this alternator, this one, as you're seeing, it is the alternator. It is connected to AVR. AVR, it is what we call automatic voltage regulator. So it regulates the power which is being generated from the alternator. Now that means the power is being generated, but these things, the generator, when it makes this power, it gets heated. It generates more temperature. So we have to cool it through the cooling system. As I showed you, this is our cooling system. It has a fan, a radiator, then a coolant system. So we put in our coolant. The coolant goes to radiator. So this coolant absorbs heat, and then the radiator releases the heat with the help of the fan also, as I have showed you. So and even I told you, in our engine there is a lot of friction, so we have to reduce that friction through adding our oil, and I always add our oil from here. But for those who don't know, where we check for where is the oil dipstick. It is here, where you can see whether the oil is high or it is low. So this is our oil filter. So when oil goes here, it passes through our oil filter. But our oil filter has what we call our oil pressure sensor. This one have to alert us whether the pressure it is low or high, but it is better when it is high. So when it is low, it sends the message to our control panel. And I have also showed you, so you have this sensor. I've showed you the solenoid. So this is the solenoid switch. I also showed you the DC, that thing. It is the DC alternator charges. It helps us to charge our battery. So I also showed you this car thing. That car thing, it is this car thing. I also showed you that car thing. It is what we call the temperature sensor. It is the one which tells us the pressure. There is a lot of temperature on our engine. That means something is wrong with our cooling system or with our radiator. What did I say? Told you? Maybe I have also talked about the silencer. This thing is the silencer which reduces the noise, and also we have that exhaustion pipe. It is the one which takes out of the gases the carbon monoxide from our AC diesel pump, this AC diesel generator. So let me try also to show you the nameplate. So this is our nameplate for this generator. As I have been telling you, it is 24 kilowatt. Yes, thank you.